Hi friends, it's Deanna here. Welcome to part 2 of our puff sleeve sewing tutorial. This time I'm going to be making the crossover dress version, also peplum top. It's the same thing. So I am super excited because I love this pattern. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our back bodice and we're going to place it face up on our board, and we're going to grab our fronts and we're going to place them right sides right on top, and we're going to go ahead and match up those shoulder seams, and we're going to match up those side seams. Make sure that your arm side, the rounded part, is on this side and the straight part is on the inside. We're going to do that for both sides, on the shoulders and then the sides. And we're also going to do that for our aligner pieces. Alrighty, now we're going to grab our liner and I'm going to put it face up on my board, and I'm going to grab my outer and put it face down right on top of it. We're going to match up those shoulder seams, and we're going to match up raw edges, right sides together, all that top seam, shoulder, the neckline, and all the way down. Alright, as we're going to sew this together, I want to add some clear elastic to the neckline because it will help keep the neckline nice and sturdy and keep it from stretching, as our skirt is a little bit heavier and could pull on it and stretch our neckline, so we don't want to do that. So for it to have a really nice neckline, we're going to add some clear elastic to it. What I like to do is either you can go ahead and measure how big your why am I having such a hard time with that word? Your neckline is, and cut a piece of elastic that long. But sometimes I just like to go ahead and put the elastic right on that seam and keep it as long as it is, and then just feed it through as I'm sewing it, and then clip it when I'm done. That way I don't run out of it. You're not stretching the elastic, you're just adding it to the seam. We're gonna add it to the wrong side of the liner seam. That way it will be sandwiched between the liner and the outer, and you won't touch your body, because I know sometimes I don't really love the feeling of that elastic touching my body. So this is really great because the stability of the elastic's there, but the feel is not. So that's really good. I'm gonna bring you over here to sew it up, and then I'm gonna show you how I do it. Yeah, let's do it. All right, so as you can see, I have this long piece of elastic here at the end, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my elastic and my bodice in. That's my liner and my outer, so I'm putting it right under my foot, putting the presser foot down, and I have the little hanging piece in the back, the extra piece I had down there, and then the rest of it I'm just putting it right along that edge, and it's gonna get caught in that seam allowance. So I'm gonna keep a hold of the elastic back here, so that way it doesn't come out on me as I'm trying to sew it. And we're just gonna, now that it's already stuck on there, we're just gonna feed it through, and it's gonna get caught on that seam allowance. And then, like I said, we're not pulling it, we're just lightly holding it there as I'm sewing it on. I'm gonna go all the way around the front neckline area. Okay, as you can see, that elastic is trapped in there. There's no, you can't see it because it's in the seam, but it gives it that nice extra support on there. All right, now to make sure that our shape of our neckline is kept, we're gonna go ahead and steam that seam. Make sure your iron is not too hot, towards the liner, and then we're gonna understitch our bodice. What that means is we're gonna stitch our bodice. Sorry, it's like my iron's a little hot, so it's like keeps getting cut. Okay. What that means is we're gonna put that seam towards the liner side, and then we're going to sew a stitch to hold that liner down. That way it doesn't come out the other side. Now I like to have a little bit of a ribbing. I want you to be able to see a little bit of my under fabric just because I like how it looks. So I'm just gonna, I'm just going to understitch it this way. So you can kind of see a little bit of my contrasting fabric, just because I want to see my contrasting fabric. But like I said, if you know you don't want your contrasting fabric to show and you don't want it to come through, you're gonna do the understitching the other way. You see what I'm saying? So you're gonna put your understitch it this way right here. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to, when I sew it on, I'm gonna face it out. So I'm gonna face that understitching out instead of in, but because I just like how that looks. So I'm gonna go over there and on my sewing machine with a medium length stitch at a 1/8 inch seam allowance, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch that seam to the liner side. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and open our bodice, and we're going to, once you understitch, we're gonna overlap our bodice, and we're going to baste our bodices together. So overlap our bodice, and then you can go ahead and baste them together. See how, I don't know, maybe you don't like that. You probably don't like it, but I kind of like it when it shows a little bit. It's like a little ribbon along the edge. So I'm going to match up right here at the bottom where my bodice comes along. That way when I attach my band, it all attaches together, especially because there's going to be 4 layers here at the front. So I'm just going to go in and baste them with a long straight stitch on my sewing machine together. I am also, while I'm at it, gonna baste my liner and outer together of my sleeves. That way those also don't get separated as I'm trying to put my sleeve on. So these arm size. All right, now for my band, I'm gonna grab my bands and I'm gonna grab one piece and the other piece and put it right on top of each other. And we're gonna do this for the outer and the liner band, and we're gonna sew those raw edges on the sides. So we're sewing them right sides together at the raw edges to make it like one continuous band. So I'm gonna do that for both real quickly. I'm just gonna go over there and sew it real quickly. All right, now the bands are sewn together. I'm fitting one right into the other, right sides together. I mean, wrong sides together. So the wrong sides are touching. So once they're all wrong sides together, I'm gonna match them right here at the seams. And now I'm gonna treat it as just one band. So I'm gonna treat it as like if it was one band altogether. But now you're gonna grab your bodice, and we're gonna fit that right into our bodice. Make sure the outer is touching right sides together with your bodice. So the outer of the band is touching the right side of your bodice. The right side of your outer band is touching the right side of your bodice. I think I said that like 10 times, and I think it was the same thing over and over again, but I just wanna make sure. And then you're just gonna clip it and sew it. Oh, should fit nicely. If you want to quarter your band and quarter your bodice, you can do that. I don't think I need to quarter it because I can see it right here. And then the front, do the same thing. Right sides together. Now make sure that you're grabbing all those different layers of your front. So you've got the 2 band layers, you got the 2 front layers, and the 2 back layers, the overlap. So let's go ahead and sew that around. Now, if you wanted to add some clear elastic for more stability, you can do so. But since we made the lining piece on our band as well, that gives a lot of more stability so that the dress doesn't pull it down. So let's sew it. All right, we're moving on to our sleeve, and look at what I'm using for my sleeve. It's this gorgeous buffalo plaid like mesh, and I am so excited about it. I think it's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna fold it, and I'm going to just go ahead and find my top of my sleeves, just because I like to do that. That way I have it for when I'm attaching it I'm gonna grab my pattern piece and I'm going to mark where I'm supposed to be gathering at. So there's a little line right there that shows me where I'm gonna start gathering. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And then after I do that, I also want to mark where my stitches are where I'm going to attach my elastic. So there's a line right here on my pattern piece, and I'm just going to pin that right there, put my pin so that I can see that. Then that way when I open it, here's my pin. So here's my piece right here. I'm also gonna mark where my half is. Now, because this is a sheer fabric and I can't really write on it, I'm not gonna write on it, but you can use erasable water soluble pen or anything like that. But I can see that my half is right where that line is right here, so I'm just gonna follow my pattern anyway. I'm gonna cut a piece of elastic. It's a 1/4 inch elastic, and I'm gonna cut it the size of my chart. My chart tells me to cut it a size 7, but I'm gonna add 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom so that I can have an overlap. So I'm gonna grab right here, leave 1 inch off at the top, and that's where I'm gonna grab onto it as I'm sewing it, zigzag stitching it on, and have another inch at the bottom like left over as so that the 7 inches will be right there in the middle. And then from this point to this point, we're gonna go over to our sewing machine and put in a basting stitch all the way around our sleeve cap so that we can gather it to attach it to our arm side. So I'm gonna go over there and put in a long straight stitch, a basting stitch around the cap, and then I'm also going to go ahead and zigzag stitch this elastic on to my sleeve. All right, now I'm switching my stitch to a zigzag stitch, and I'm grabbing my elastic. I'm gonna grab where that top is and the wrong side of my fabric. I know you can't tell that this is the wrong side of my fabric, but it is the wrong side of my fabric, is where I'm gonna put that in there. Leave that inch off right there, so it's where you're gonna grab your elastic. I'm going to get my needle in there and then get over here to the edge. Here's my inch where I'm gonna pull, and you're gonna keep it straight right there where it's supposed to be in the middle, and get started and go. Put in that zigzag stitch right in there. When you get to the edge, make sure you back stitch and move on to the next one. Once that is done, look how beautiful that looks. I'm gonna grab my sleeve, match it right sides together. Make sure it's the right sides of your fabric. And we're gonna sew those raw edges together of the sleeve. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and fit our sleeves in. So I'm gonna turn my bodice inside out. That's so cool. I love seeing it this way too. I think it looks gorgeous. All right, I'm going to grab my sleeve and I'm gonna turn my sleeve right side out because I'm going to fit my sleeve right into my arm side right here. And I'm going to match up that armpit seam of right sides together first. Once I match that armpit seam, I'm going to also go ahead and match the top of the sleeve. So where that elastic is right here at the top, I'm gonna match that up with the top of my shoulder seam. And then I'm gonna go ahead and right here where my basting stitches are, I'm going to pull on my bobbin stitch, bobbin thread until my sleeve is gathered the same size as my arm size. So see how I'm gonna gather it so that when I touch them right sides together, they are gathered just the same width. And what I like to do is I like to come from one side to the top and then the other side to the top. So that way they're evenly gathered. And then I'm gonna match them up right sides together and clip them and sew the whole sleeve on. What do you all think about this combination of the mesh right here? Do you think it's gonna turn out good, or are you worried about me? You're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be gorgeous. I'm hoping. You know, it's one of those things, when I'm sewing, I like to just try it. If I think it's gonna look good and I'm not sure, guess what? I'm gonna try it and make sure and see what it does. I'm not gonna be scared of it, because sometimes some of the things that we are scared of, that we try different combinations or something like that, end up being the cutest combination. So I'm super excited about it. This mesh also came from Olga's closet, and I got this mesh and this other fabric. The lining fabric is a double brush poly. The outer fabric is a I'm thinking it's some sort of sweater knit, but it's thin. It's not a thick sweater knit. All right, so there's my sleeve. I'm gonna sew it all around, but I'm gonna first do it to the other sleeve. Alright, if you're sewing pockets, you're going to find the top of your skirt and you're going to grab your pattern piece and position it right into it, and there is my pocket piece mark. And that's where I'm going to put my pocket. You're going to find that you're going to put that on all the sides of your skirt. So that's that's 4 sides if you're doing 4 pockets, 2 if you're doing 2 pockets. I mean 1 pocket. 4 sides if you're doing 2 pockets, 2 sides if you're doing 1 pocket. You're gonna face the pocket down. You're gonna line up the raw edges right sides together, and we're gonna sew that pocket right on there. So I'm gonna do that for all my sides. All right, if you're doing pockets like I am, when you sew well, it's time to sew our sides first of all. So if you're doing pockets, you'll have this pocket right here. So you'll go down, around, and down. Let me see. I'm gonna put the other piece right on top. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and steam that pocket and understitch it first, so that it kind of hangs still on there, especially if it's like a thicker fabric or something like that. You can go ahead and do that. And then right here, we're gonna sew the raw edges, go down and around. If you don't have a pocket, if you don't have pockets, you're just gonna go straight down that side seam. But because I have pockets, I gotta go around the pocket and then all the way down the seam. And we're gonna do that for both sides. All right, our bodice, it's already quartered at the bottom. We're gonna go ahead and quarter our skirt by grabbing those side seams together and then going to the front and then matching them up and going to the back. Okay, and then now I'm going to go ahead and match up those quarter points with the quarter points on my band. And if you want to go ahead and put that elastic on there already, because as I'm sewing this together, I'm going to be adding the elastic, just letting the elastic go through and go all the way around as I sew it right sides together. Then we'll just have to hem and we'll be done. friends, we are done with this gorgeous dress. I can't wait to try it on. Now we just need to hem, and I am a little bit scared because I don't want to burn my fabric with my iron. And I've been struggling today with this iron, not burning my fabric because it's a different kind of fabric. So I'm like trying to get it not so hot. And it's like not listening to me. So I'm gonna go over here and struggle with my iron and hem. And we're doing the hem at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. There we go. At a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And because it's on the round, sometimes I think it can be kind of scary to go on the round on our hem. But what I like to do is I like to kind of, as I'm hemming, I kind of tug at the fabric. And I mean, as I'm ironing, steaming it, getting it ready to hem. And it kind of helps that hem go around a lot easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that hem on my cover stitch. You can do it on if you have a cover stitch or your sewing machine with a stretch stitch on your sewing machine. Honestly though, because this is the hem is so wide, you could get away with even just a straight stitch, a longer straight stitch on your sewing machine. I've done that before when I was doing wide, like circle skirts and stuff like that. But anyway, if you need any help with hemming tips, we do have some videos here on our YouTube channel about hemming and all that stuff. So let's finish this dress up. All right, so do we love it or do we love it? Look at these sleeves and the whole thing. Gorgeous, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Go grab your pattern, get to sewing. Come find us on YouTube. I mean, we are on YouTube. Go find us on Facebook and Instagram so you can see what everybody else is making and you can inspire us with your makes. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you all next time.